Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome into today's Liv-ing Room Retreat. You might be noticing that I'm not in my living room. I'm in the studio. So what's up with that? That's because today is the first of our Liv-ing Room Retreats that is not a message from me. Today we've got Liv doing a Liv-ing Room Retreats. And I like that a lot. So Liv Harrison, from the show, you know her from Forte Catholic Podcast. But she's also a speaker in her own right, and she too has had all of her events canceled. So she is our speaker today, speaking about her anxiety and her journey through that with the Lord. So I hope that you enjoyed today's message. If you do, please hit that like and subscribe button. I would appreciate it, just so that you don't miss any of the great content that we are putting out every few days. God bless you guys. Y'all are awesome. Enjoy Liv, and if you do, and most of you will, follow her on social media at the Liv Harrison on Instagram and all the other places. Enjoy.
Hi, I love Harrison, and this is a living room chat with Liv. Cute, huh? So, listen, when I was 7, my parents thought it would be fantastic to go to Europe. And we lived in a very small town, Louisiana. So Europe was like 45 plane trips away, okay? And it was very foreign and very, very lots of things. It was not Louisiana. My parents also thought it would be brilliant to put me in French classes at the local university so I could speak French in France as a 7-year-old. Not their brightest moment. I couldn't speak French when we got to France. It was actually horrible. But we rode a lot of trains. So the little bit of French I did know, I could, get a soda, or I could, get something like where the restroom was, things like that, because we were on trains all the time. However, what I didn't understand was that these trains stopped a lot. It's not just like this big long journey that, you're sleeping on this car, and you're like wearing costumes and you have dinner, like the movies. It's like very start, stop. And when you're 7, you get a little impatient. What I also didn't know was that my father was going to get off of the train at each train station and try to buy something, like either to eat or, I don't know, something for us to play with or something to drink. I would freak out. I would see my father on the platform, again, only 7, and I would see him there and not with us. And I had a mom. I still have a mom. And I had 2 brothers. I now have 3. And they were really, really little and annoying. And my dad was outside this train and I couldn't figure it out. And the other thing I didn't know was that the train would start to go and my father was still on the platform. And I was like, what are we doing? Why is he on the platform? Get on the train. I need you to get on the train. So I was very anxious, very scared. And I would press my little face against the glass and I would scream and freak out. And my dad wasn't worried because a couple of things. One, it takes 20 minutes for a train to pull out, an actual real train. It takes forever. So he was like, I could run and catch it. That will not be difficult. Or number 2, there's a lot of other trains. So he could have just hopped on another train. Not a big deal. I, however, didn't know any of that information. So I was super anxious and very scared. And so I didn't trust these people, these 2 people that were my parents. I was like, these are not the brightest. These are the people that put me in a college class at 7 to learn French. So why are we trusting them when the train is leaving and my dad is still on the platform? Thus, I think, began my relationship with anxiety. This whole concept of I understand this false reality and I have adopted it as logic and as reality. That's kind of when I remember the first time that I started feeling anxious. My relationship with anxiety got really intense and got really complicated. It took a long time to get there, but I was actually diagnosed with extremely severe anxiety. Not just anxiety, extremely severe. And it was debilitating. It literally stopped me from living life. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't go to concerts. I wouldn't go see friends. I would flake all the time. And I'm the most extroverted, people-loving, social human on the planet. So when I got diagnosed with anxiety, I didn't realize how much of my everyday was impacted by this false dialogue. Okay. I didn't realize that anxiety was this tape in my head that I had believed was true and didn't comprehend that it was fabricated, because to me it was very real. Now, my anxiety would evolve into other things. I would absolutely know how something was going to end or how something was going to happen or all sorts of things. But the part of the anxiety that was so crippling as a social person, okay, as an extrovert, as a human, was the tapes that I put in my head about other people, what they thought of me, how they viewed me, if they liked me, if they were done with me, all the things, right? And I gave a lot of power to a script that didn't exist. Let's go to the internet, shall we? The internet is fantastic. You know, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of information. It's a way to keep in touch. For someone with anxiety, it was a way to compare, right? And a way to judge, and a way to not so much like, let me judge you, but this is how you judge me. Like, oh, I didn't do all those things for my, college class, so I guess I'm not a really good student. Or my kids aren't making homemade soy candles for Padre Pio on his feast day, so I hate Catholicism. Whatever. I would make up this stuff because I was watching other people on the internet. I was looking at their feeds. I was looking at their posts, their captions, and I was writing a script that didn't exist about their lives, about their life with me, about their lives with their families, whatever, whether I was in college, married, single, it didn't matter my station in life or what was going on. I knew better about what was happening on the internet. And now we're in quarantine and all we have is the internet. So as someone with anxiety, who is an extrovert, who is in therapy for anxiety, which I FaceTime my therapist, and who's dealing with these things and already has these tapes, it's definitely been a challenge, right? It's been this challenge of determining what other people think about me, and now this new place that social media has in this space that we're in right now. What's interesting is that I've started to shift into not so much comparing anymore, but really into communication. It's definitely been an outlet to communicate. What I didn't see coming, though, with my anxiety and where we're at right now in the station of life is where it comes into play with God, especially, and I already said that, right now, because I have all the time in the world. I mean, I don't have all the time in the world, but I have all the time in the world, Why am I now flaking out on God? Why am I now making up dialogue in my head about God? For one thing, I can't receive the sacraments. Going to Mass is not an option for me right now. Adoration, not an option right now. Confession, not an option right now. So I do this. I apply my little human finite brain to this infinite being that created the universe, and I decide what God thinks of me. How absolutely kind of narcissistic. I mean, it's a little self-centered, really, that I decide and decipher how God views me. And now that I've got all this time on my hands, I've made up a lot of stuff, especially since I can't go do the things that I used to do to connect with God. Can I not connect with God here in my house? I mean, of course I can, but I'm having to evolve and rediscover ways to incorporate Him in my life with anxiety during this very unprecedented time. I'm not doing so great. I am not connecting with God on the way that I should. The way that I've moved social media from this place of comparison and really getting down about myself and just assuming people think all these things about me, I haven't really transitioned that with God yet. Like I haven't really, I don't know. I keep writing the script for Him. And I'm sure He wants to say, Liv, I created the world, so I've got this. Could you just get out of the way? And I find that that's what I do a lot as someone that struggles with anxiety, is that I definitely self-sabotage. I get in the way. I make decisions about things and I just kind of make it be the end all be all. And it's not. I also, with anxiety, like really suffer with the whole like all or nothing. And I do that with God. Like he either loves me, I'm his favorite, I'm holy, I'm amazing, or I will burn in hell for eternity. Like there's no redemption or grace or forgiveness with myself. Other people, tons. Myself, not so much. And I got to work on that. Like I've got to move the space of changing this. Let's be really honest. I like to say it's a dialogue, but it doesn't exist because I've written the whole thing. It's really a monologue, right? It's really my conversation with God and only my side. It's only what I think, what I believe, what I feel, but I apply it and I make it real. And then I create this distance between him and myself. He's done nothing. He's there. He's God. He's sitting there waiting. And I keep adding bricks, like the huge boxes, like boulders. Names a house. I don't know. Name whatever you want to name in between us. He's done nothing. And I keep adding things to get further away from him, yet wanting to be with him. So what do? All right, fine. So I now understand this is what I do. This is what I do with anxiety. Now I'm stuck at home. I can't frequent the sacraments or nature trails or retreats or speaking or whatever it is that I'm used to doing. So I'm kind of Veruca Salt, I'm like a brat. I'm like, well, then fine, then whatever with God. The thing that is amazing about the human person is that we are very adaptable, right? This is a crazy time. I don't think anybody should be held accountable for what happens in quarantine. I really don't. And I'm hoping God is going to just really sprinkle on the grace and forgiveness in this whole scenario. But we have to start with recognizing that we are entering in a dialogue that doesn't exist. So we have to first recognize that this is a script that is false. The enemy loves that. He wants nothing more than for us to believe these things and hold them as truths. So that's the first step. The second step is to forgive. Forgive the humanity part of yourself. I'm really good at forgiving other people. It's not hard. You know why? Because I think all the time I suck as a person. So surely this is not their best. I shouldn't judge them for this one little moment. But for myself, that's hard. Like that moment, I will blow up and dig in and make a Thanksgiving feast and get a knapsack and live there, camp out with it forever. I can't forgive myself. That is something I have to work on. Here's the key. I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm a human being. Anytime you have something that you can't do because of your humanity, the only logical answer is to go to God. Period. He's not human, right? Jesus was 100% human, 100% God. Absolutely. But we're talking about, the Trinity, the deity, the creator of the universe. God can help us do the things we cannot. It seems like an easy answer. It seems like a vacation Bible school answer. Go to God. But it's true. Entering into a actual dialogue of prayer with God and simply saying, I can't do this. I can't blank. And in this case, I can't forgive myself. Help me in this space. Move me in this space, right? And we know that God will answer and he will absolutely do what we've asked because he's told us that in the Bible numerous times. He's mentioned it more than once. So you ask him for that, and then you have to create movement. A lot of times we like to sit and wait for God to answer in the way that we want. So we want, a yes. That's the answer that we want. We don't want a no, and we don't want a wait. We want a yes. So we will pause our lives waiting for a yes when he's already answered us with a no or a wait, maybe a pause. Here's the thing. We can't just stop our lives waiting for what we think an answer is or waiting for what we think we deserve from God. You have to create movement. So what does that look like? Well, There's a whole reason why we have cliches most of the time. And one of them, the whole like fake it till you feel it kind of a thing, is a pretty good one. Enter into the prayer life that you should be doing. What does that mean? On your knees, lighting candles, making rosary beads out of your hair? No, of course. I mean, if you want to do that, that's fine. Whatever it is that you will be successful at, if it's 1 minute, if it's 30 seconds, if it's hi God, if it's a whole rosary, whatever it is, that's between you and God. Don't set yourself up for failure. It can be tiny and small. Think about the widow who gave her last 2 little, I'm going to say cents because I don't know what it translates to. Her 2 coins, okay? God can do tremendous things with the little that we give him. Okay? So you recognize it, you ask him to help you forgive yourself for getting into the place that you are with him, for building the blockage, and then you move forward by doing things that you know you should. Start small, one thing, start simple, do it even though you don't feel it. And then by the time that you do, you are already there. You're already in this actual conversation with him. You've actually re-engaged. And that anxiety piece that a lot of us suffer from, and especially right now, even if you're not diagnosed with it, this is an anxious time, right? You have now moved into a space of truth. And that is what he wants with us. He just wants us to connect. Just like with the whole social media thing supposed to be, it's supposed to be a place of connection, not of comparison, not of judgment, not of, fake, false dialogue. It's a place to connect. And with God, it's the same. So I believe in you. You can do these 3 steps. It is easy to do. Do something simple. Hi, God. How you doing? I love you. Something small. And always invite him to help you do the heavy lifting, the hard stuff, kind of what he does. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great, great week. God bless.